Arman checked the time for the fourth time in 2 minutes. 8:42 a.m. The interview. Email sat starred on his phone, like a promise he couldn't afford to break. This wasn't just another job meeting. It was the first stable senior position he'd been shortlisted for since becoming a single father 3 years ago. He squeezed his 6-year-old son Rafi's hand as they waited at the busy crosswalk, mentally rehearsing answers about leadership deadlines and crisis management, the polished version of himself. "After school, can we get the chocolate cereal?" Rafi asked. "If today goes well," Arman smiled, "we'll get 2. The pedestrian light blinked. They stepped forward with the crowd, and then the morning split open. A delivery cyclist hit a slick patch of road and crashed hard, the bike sliding sideways. A sharply dressed woman nearby rushed to help, but slipped off the curb, landing badly. The sound of the impact made several people gasp, and then keep walking. Heads turned. Feet didn't stop. Arman stopped. He guided Rafi back to the bench. "Sit, backpack on. Don't move unless I say." His voice was calm, the kind that prevents fear from spreading. He reached the woman first. Her face had gone pale, breath shallow, ankle already swelling. She tried to stand and failed, frustration flashing through the pain. "I'm okay," she insisted. "Just help me up." "You're not okay," he said gently, "and forcing it will make it worse." He removed his jacket, folded it into support under her leg, and called emergency services, giving precise location details. The cyclist groaned nearby. Arman flagged another bystander to stay with him too, assigning responsibility like it was natural. His phone buzzed, unknown number. Then again, the recruiter, almost certainly. He watched it ring out and felt the cost land in his chest, then chose stillness anyway. "You look like you're missing something important," the woman said through tight breaths. "I am," he answered, meeting her eyes. "But right now you're what's important." Rain misted lightly, traffic hissed past, seconds stretched. He kept her talking to prevent shock, asked simple questions, grounded her attention. When the ambulance siren finally cut through the noise, relief softened his shoulders. As paramedics lifted her onto the stretcher, she caught his sleeve. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Most people don't stay," she said quietly. "Most people think someone else will," he replied. The doors closed. Silence returned. Arman checked the time. 9:17 a.m. He let out a slow breath, picked up his son's backpack and smiled anyway. "Looks like we're getting regular cereal," he said. Rafi looked up at him. "Did we still win?" Arman squeezed his hand. "Yeah," he said softly. "We did." By noon, Arman's chest still carried the weight of the morning's decision. The adrenaline had faded, leaving a quiet mix of pride and dread. He had missed the interview, the one that could finally give him financial stability, a roof over Rafi's head without worry, and the chance to feel like he was finally moving forward. Every second he spent helping the woman had cost him that opportunity, and now the uncertainty gnawed at him. Sitting at his small kitchen table, he tried to focus on Rafi's homework, but his thoughts kept drifting. He opened his laptop and stared at the blinking cursor, then slowly began typing an email to the company. No dramatic excuses, no exaggerated stories, just honesty. He explained that he had been unable to attend the scheduled interview because he had helped an injured stranger on his way there, and while he deeply regretted missing the appointment, he hoped the company might consider rescheduling. He added that he fully understood if it was too late and thanked them sincerely for their time. He paused before hitting send, rereading each line to make sure it was professional yet genuine. Finally, with a deep breath, he pressed send. He leaned back, feeling a strange mixture of relief and dread. Now all he could do was wait. Hours passed and his phone remained silent. He tried not to check it obsessively, but every vibration made his heart race. Finally, in the late afternoon, an unknown number flashed across the screen. Arman's fingers hesitated over the answer button before he picked up. "Mr. Arman." The voice was professional, calm, but carried a faint hint of amusement. "This is HR from Linton Group. We received your email and found it unusual but admirable. Can you come in tomorrow at 10 a.m. for the interview?" Arman blinked. "Tomorrow?" "Absolutely. Thank you so much." "You're welcome," the voice said, softening. "And be on time. We're curious about you." Armand lowered the phone slowly, disbelief mingling with cautious hope. Someone had noticed his honesty, his integrity. The mysterious note attached to his file, he realized, must have been from someone higher up, someone paying attention. That evening, as he helped Rafi with his school project, he tried to explain the day's strange turn of events. "Sometimes," he said, "doing the right thing costs you something immediately, but it can open doors you never expected." Rafi looked up with wide eyes. "So you saved someone and still got a chance at the job?" Armand smiled, ruffling his son's hair. "Exactly, buddy. Some things are worth missing a little to make sure you do the right thing." For the first time that day, he felt a calm certainty. Tomorrow, he would walk into that office not as someone desperate for a chance, but as someone who had already proven his character. The real test had already begun, and in that moment, he felt ready. After what felt like hours of waiting, Armand was finally called back into the office. His nerves were taut, but a subtle curiosity had replaced the earlier anxiety. As he stepped inside, he immediately noticed the woman, the stranger he had helped that morning, now standing confidently behind a large desk. Impeccably dressed, her demeanor calm and authoritative. "Mr. Armand," she said, her voice steady but with a hint of warmth, "congratulations. You're hired." Relief and disbelief collided in his chest. "Hired? Just like that?" he asked, trying to mask the excitement in his voice. She smiled faintly. "Not just like that. You already passed a test most candidates never face. Skill we can assess through interviews. Character, however, is revealed when no one is watching, and that you showed today." Armand blinked, processing her words. Then it hit him. The woman he had saved wasn't just a stranger. She was Mirakana, CEO of Linton Group, a name he had only heard in passing, associated with authority, innovation, and power. You're the CEO?" he asked, his tone a mix of shock and admiration. "I am," she confirmed. "And the fact that you helped me without knowing who I was shows more than any resume ever could." Armand laughed softly, shaking his head. "I almost didn't send that apology email after missing my interview." She leaned slightly forward, her expression softening. "I'm glad you did. Integrity matters, and you demonstrated it twice today. Once when you chose to help, and again when you were honest about missing the interview." He felt a mix of pride and humility. "So I got the job because I helped you?" "Not because of me," she replied. "Because of how you acted when it counted. That's the rare quality we value here. Skills can be taught. Character cannot." Later, as he shared the news with Rafi, his son's eyes sparkled with curiosity and admiration. "So being kind is good for jobs?" Armand smiled, ruffling his son's hair. "Being kind is always good. Everything else is just the bonus." The day had started with chaos, uncertainty, and missed opportunities, but it ended with clarity, reward, and the realization that true character shines brightest when no one is watching. Helping a stranger had changed his life, and he knew that this lesson would stay with him, guiding him not just in his career, but in how he wanted to live every day. From that moment on, men understood that sometimes the right choice isn't the most convenient one, but it can be the one that changes everything. And in his heart, he knew that integrity, courage, and compassion were always worth the risk. The next morning, Armand walked into the Linton Group, headquarters with a mix of nerves and determination. The building's sleek glass exterior reflected the city skyline, and inside, polished marble floors and muted lighting gave the place an unmistakable air of authority. He adjusted his black jacket, ran a hand through his hair, and reminded himself to breathe. This was his chance, a second chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. The reception area was quiet but professional, and as he signed in, he noticed a familiar face. At first, he thought his mind was playing tricks, but then recognition hit. It was the woman from the accident, standing near the elevators. She moved with confidence, her posture impeccable, and her ankle brace was barely visible under a tailored suit. Armand froze for a brief second, a mixture of surprise and curiosity washing over him. The panel interview began shortly after, and Armand focused on the questions. Each one tested his knowledge, his problem-solving skills, and his ability to manage pressure. He answered calmly, citing examples from his career without exaggeration. Yet through it all, his mind kept wandering back to the woman. He couldn't decide whether to be embarrassed by the coincidence or intrigued by it. Finally, the interview concluded, and the panel exchanged glances. The lead interviewer thanked him for his time and asked if he had any questions. Arman opened his mouth to speak, then realized that the woman from the accident had silently taken a seat at the end of the table, observing him with a calm, unreadable expression. His heartbeat quickened. "One last question," she said smoothly, her voice firm yet soft. "Why did you choose to help a stranger over attending your scheduled interview?" Arman felt all eyes on him, but he held her gaze. "Because shock and injury are frightening alone," he said. And in that moment, she needed someone to stay. Some things are more important than timing, and helping her was the right thing to do. For a moment, the room was silent. Then she nodded subtly, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Arman felt a sense of quiet approval, though he wasn't sure if it was personal or professional. "You demonstrated character that can't be measured on paper," she said. "Integrity, composure, and judgment under pressure, traits we value immensely." Arman blinked, suddenly aware that the woman he had helped earlier wasn't just an accident of fate in his morning. She had influence here, authority, and an understanding that went beyond standard corporate evaluation. As he left the panel, he realized the morning had tested him in unexpected ways. Not just his professional skills, but his character, his instincts, and his willingness to do the right thing, even when it cost him. And somewhere deep down, he knew that this test, unplanned, personal, and real, might matter more than the interview itself.